On July 4th, 1826, Thomas Jefferson struggled to write his last letter in the study of Monticello. The setting sun slanted through the window, casting a light on his pale face. The quill pen in his hand trembled, and the ink bled on the paper, forming the outline of the Statue of Liberty. This third president of the United States had spent his entire life in pursuit of the true meaning of freedom, yet he had been tormented by the shadow of slavery. As his life was coming to an end, the outline of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the distance gradually blurred, as if marking the final punctuation for his contradictions and glories. In 1743, on the red dirt roads of Virginia, 10-year-old Thomas Jefferson rode a pony towards Williamsburg. His stepfather, Peter Jefferson, a surveyor, often took him into the wilderness to identify the stars and the veins of the land. At the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Jefferson devoured the works of Locke and Rousseau. He wrote in his diary, "Freedom is not a gift. It is an inalienable right of mankind." In 1769, while George Washington was expanding his estate at Mount Vernon, 26-year-old Jefferson was elected as a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses. It was the first time he met Washington in the Assembly. The taciturn colonel was listening to the debate on taxation. Jefferson later recalled, "Washington's mere presence was a kind of power. He made me understand that freedom requires the support of action." In Philadelphia in 1776, Jefferson was writing vigorously in his lodgings on Market Street. As Benjamin Franklin revised his first draft with a goose quill pen, the chants of the people protesting against the British Army could be heard outside the window. When Adams read the draft of the Declaration of Independence, he excitedly grabbed Jefferson's hand and said, "This will be a torch that illuminates the world." And after receiving a copy in the Continental Army's camp, Washington immediately read it to the soldiers. His voice trembled with excitement as he said, "This is the belief we are fighting for." During the War of Independence, Jefferson returned to Virginia to serve as governor, but was forced to flee Richmond due to the British invasion. While taking shelter in the cellar of Monticello, he received a letter from Washington, which read, "Defeat is only temporary. Our cause is like a seed that will eventually break through the soil." These words were like a spark that reignited his fighting spirit. In 1801, Jefferson took the oath of office in the Capitol building. He refused to ride in a carriage and instead walked to the ceremony to demonstrate the simplicity of democracy. When he received the presidential seal from Adams, their eyes met. These two men, who had once been allies and later political opponents, perhaps both remembered that passionate summer in Philadelphia at the moment of the transfer of power. As president, Jefferson completed the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the territory of the United States. He wrote in a letter to Washington, "We are drawing a blueprint of freedom like never before." However, at the same time, hundreds of slaves were still working on his Monticello plantation. He painfully analyzed in his private notes, "I know this is a sin, but I cannot break free from the chains of my era." After leaving office, Jefferson returned to Monticello and dedicated himself to founding the University of Virginia. He personally designed the school buildings, making repeated revisions on the architectural plans as if he were constructing a temple of freedom. At this time, he resumed correspondence with Adams. The two old men discussed philosophy, agriculture, and even joked with each other in their letters. Jefferson wrote in a letter, "John, we once argued over our ideas, but now all I see is your love for the country." On July 4th, 1826, when Jefferson heard the recitation of the Declaration of Independence in a coma, a faint smile crossed his lips. He might have remembered that morning in Philadelphia when he was bent over his desk writing. He might have remembered Washington's tenacity in Valley Forge. He might have remembered Adams' loneliness in Quincy. His life was an eternal battle between the ideal of freedom and the harsh reality, just like the setting sun at Monticello, which carried an indelible shadow amidst its brilliance. On Jefferson's tombstone is engraved the inscription he chose himself, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for religious freedom, and father of the University of Virginia. And the stories of him, Washington, and Adams have long transcended personal grudges and become a trio of the American spirit on the path to pursuing freedom. The light of idealism is always intertwined with the struggles of human nature, illuminating the soul of a nation.